Historical headlines. A human monstrosity. Frightful deformity of a Michigan pauper. A man who is half turtle, with fins like a fish. A correspondent of the Chicago Inter-Ocean, writing from Battle Creek, Michigan, tells a remarkable story of the discovery of a monstrosity in the poorhouse of that state, known as Turtle Man. The correspondent said he visited the poorhouse to satisfy himself as to the truth of the numerous stories he had heard regarding this creature. The keeper of the institution introduced him to the monstrosity, calling the 4-feet-high dwarf who stood before him by the name of Samuel Keene. He says, "As he stood before us, he presented the most wonderful specimen of man amalgamated with the animal kingdom that can be imagined. On speaking with him he apparently understood every word, but lacked sufficient intelligence to frame a reasonable answer, just as a dumb brute can comprehend but cannot give an intelligent reply. In stature this singular being is short, thick-set, and flat rather than round. His legs and arms are short, the hands turning outward, the same as a turtle's, and instead of fingers the widened palm ends in webbed claws. The feet are fashioned in the same manner, and when he walks it is with a sidelong, ambling gait, moving the entire side of his body in a manner peculiar to a tortoise. In his actions and talk he has a slow, measured jerking style. The inside of his dirty claw or fin, which he held out to shake hands with, was of a yellow color, as were also his feet and stomach, the skin having the same ribbed appearance and color as the under part of a turtle. It was reported that he had a shell upon his back, but upon examination it was found to consist of tough layers of cuticle, which, however, are growing harder each year, and may soon become ossified. The peculiar color of different portions of his body, some being dark and others white, has led to the conclusion that his flesh is multi-kind or of different construction and tissues. Although so small he is 32 years of age. The most singular and startling feature of the monstrosity is the head, which seems but to be a continuation of the neck, with a flat face and head coming to a point on the top, the same as that of a snake. He is almost constantly moving his head or eyes from side to side. The back portion of the cranium is perfectly perpendicular to the neck, and covered with short bristly black hair, but no hair grows on any other portion of the body. No whiskers or mustache, only a few bristles at each corner of his mouth. His nose is flat like an Ethiopian's. The mouth extends from jowl to jowl, very wide and furnished with a full set of teeth. He constantly keeps his mouth open, with his large tongue lolling out, and it is this more than anything else that causes his unintelligible jargon. But the eyes are the most striking portion of his features. The whites are excessively large and rolling. The pupils, small and black, look directly ahead and possess a wild, staring, yet fascinating glare, very sharp and piercing, and glistening from underneath the broad eyebrows. In temper he is perfectly docile and harmless, unless aroused to anger, when he is sullen and snappish. In habits he is not very social, scarcely ever says anything unless spoken to, and when young never mingled with the boys or engaged in juvenile sports. His parents were very poor, and both died when he was very young. He has brothers and sisters well off in worldly goods and respectable, but they refuse to support him, and he is a pauper upon the charity of the town. The cause of this terrible deformity is said to be a fright received by the mother previous to the child's birth. It furnishes one of the most startling proofs of parental influence on record. The parents resided on Diamond Lake, and being very poor often caught fish for food. While fishing in a boat one day, with her hands just touching the water and holding the line, an enormous turtle attracted by the movement of her fingers suddenly came up and bit the woman. She never recovered from the fright, and when the child was born a few months afterwards, it had indelibly stamped upon its entire body the form of the turtle. It was not so noticeable at first, but grew with its growth and strengthened with its strength. The first habit which was noticeable was its desire to creep turtle fashion, even after it could walk. Afterwards, upon examination by doctors, the joints of the arms and legs were found to be double and turned outwards like a tortoise. As the horrible truth grew upon the mother, the child became loathsome to her, and it was probably to shame and grief that the early death of the parent was due. During boyhood it was found impossible to educate the boy beyond a few words, which he utters hourly, as he has no memory of facts or incidents. He cannot tell even his age, or anything connected with his life, and all is to him a blank. He exists only in the present, and like the brute, seems to have no care for the morrow or the sorrow of the past. In summer his greatest delight is to go in bathing, and he will remain underwater for a long time. When a boy he had to be constantly watched lest he should drown, as his friends feared. He was a constant care to his parents during childhood, as he had to be fed, his claws or fins not being large enough to grasp food, but lately he has learned to feed himself. He is fondest of vegetable food and fish, but will eat anything he sees the rest of his fellow companions eat. He seems to have no passion or affection, and cares no more for the opposite sex than his own. He takes the greatest pleasure, which is the only sense he seems to possess, in tending a baby, and for our amusement the keeper brought in an infant. Sam's features lit up in a smile which would have done credit to an Egyptian idol. His mouth opened still further, and his tongue protruded when he saw the child. Sitting down in a chair and crossing his dwarf limbs to form a cradle, he tenderly took the poor unfortunate infant, left on the steps a few days before, and began to rock it with his knees, while he made a most singular low mumbling noise, which he called singing. Sammy, as he is called by all the inmates, has very little idea of the great world. All his world is the house and farm on which he lives. He seems to possess but little or no emotion, and upon the announcement of anyone's death takes it as calmly as a call to dinner. He seems to be simply one grade above animal life, and as fit an argument for Darwin as one could be wished. We were informed that Barnum was negotiating for him as a companion to his tattooed man. The Montreal Gazette, January 6, 1880.